Welcome back to the program, everyone. It's John Pollock with you. We're getting set for TNA Slammiversary, which is coming up next Sunday night, June the 12th, airing at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on pay-per-view. It's going to be headlined by Bobby Lashley, challenging for the TNA Championship against the man who joins us on the line right now. He is Drew Galloway. Drew, you are a very, very busy man, so I very much appreciate the time dropping by the show here.
Oh, not a problem at all. I'm glad to be on. It's been a crazy old time, like you just said. I've literally just got back from Ireland. I was at Sheamus's premiere for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 movie, and I just got back to my family home in Scotland. So it's very funny to be doing media in Scotland, in the home I grew up in, dreaming about doing this job as the world champion. So this is pretty cool.
Well, give us a little tease about how did the movie turn out, giving your unbiased film review. How was Sheamus?
It was awesome. It was just literally like the real life him in the movie. Just amplified a bit. You know, he's playing Rocksteady for the comedy sidekicks, him and Bebop or Shredder. And just the way they interact in the cartoon is exactly how they are in this movie. They've stuck just like the cartoon, and you couldn't have picked anybody better than Sheamus to play that role because he's laugh a minute, and he was very good. And it got to the point where I stopped seeing him as my buddy on the screen and started just seeing him as that character. I told him that after. He did a hell of a job, and I did genuinely enjoy the movie and the experience.
With all the travel that you're doing right now, Drew, I've got to imagine that you're logging way more miles now than when you were on the road with the WWE. Is it kind of your head spinning at certain times where it's just all these different dates you're filling and probably spending a lot of it on planes and in cars during all this time?
Yeah, I've definitely smashed the schedule of WWE. Like, we only had tours every 6 months, or twice a year we do the European tours. Occasionally we do a Mexican tour, but generally it was within America. And my schedule mostly works jumping out the country basically every 2 to 3 weeks, if not every week. It's country to country, so it's pretty wild. Your head does spin at times, but I've got my fiance constantly reminding me of a little text here and there. Drew, you're in this country, Drew, it's this day. So she keeps me up to date with everything, where may be. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I've decided I want this schedule. I want to be the busiest wrestler in the world. If I want to cement myself as one of the greatest of all time, then this is the schedule you have to keep.
It's interesting because this pay-per-view will be taking place on June the 12th, which is a significant date because it is 2 years to the day of your release from the WWE. Can you take us back to that day and what were the emotions you were feeling? Because I can imagine they were a mix of them. Fear, excitement, was a kind of a lot of emotions that day.
That's something I wasn't aware of, so that's interesting. So that's a very interesting little fact there. This is the same day. I did not know that at all.
We do our research around here.
Yeah, I got the... Oh, well, thank you for letting me know that. That's very interesting. I'm having a little moment where I'm staring off into space reflecting. That's pretty interesting. Exactly 2 years, and it's been a wild 2 years. But that day when I got the call, it was a little unexpected just because that particular character we're doing at the time with the 3MB was just on everything, like every single show. And, I assumed that was what the call was going to be. And when I got the call, I sat down and it was probably within 5 minutes. So I said, okay, this is an opportunity. I just turned 29. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old. I've got the experience. I believe I can get out there and just really make an impact. I know the British scene's starting to bubble right now. I think I can make a difference there. I know there's some stuff going on in America. I feel like I can make a difference there. I just need the platform to show what I can do. And that's the way I started formulating it in my head, and I created a mission statement. And I was very fortunate that people believed in me, gave me the ball, and gave me the opportunity to score so many times.
And I've got to imagine that a big culmination of that was this past March, and you win the TNA Championship, and it just seems that here in those 2 years, I think that you've just gone out and you've worked everywhere, and so many people are seeing this version of Drew Galloway. I mean, you've accomplished quite a lot in these 2 years heading into this pay-per-view, so I think it's kind of poetic that this is happening on June the 12th, because you deserve a pat on the back for these past 2 years, I feel.
No, I don't deserve anything. I'm the luckiest guy in the world as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just doing the job I love, and being out with the system that I was so used to, the system I grew up in WWE, like we just said, is a little bit scary, but just the way things have worked out, I'm just very fortunate, and I'm willing to be the hardest worker in the room, or not just the room, the world. to get those opportunities and try to pull it off. And the fact I've been able to pull it off, I just feel very, very fortunate. I think I started off with the Evolve title and tried to take it around the world. Had it become a world title, so defended it a bunch of places. I did it with the ICW title. Got it I can't get my words out right. I'll get a little tongue-tied here. Got it recognised as a world title also because I defended it in multiple countries. And then eventually to culminate with winning the actual world title, the TNA world title, after so many months, logging all those miles and so many cool situations, cool moments, matches with Kurt Angle, things like that just really blew my mind to win that world title. Coming from a crazy weekend, so I'll jump all over the place here. This is the fun thing about talking with me. I'll just jump all over the place. So on the Friday, I was in Germany. On Saturday, I jumped to Scotland, did a match. Sunday, I jumped back to Germany to finish a tournament I was in. I hadn't had any sleep that weekend. Wrestled for 40 minutes straight, 2 matches in a row on Sunday. Monday, they screwed up my flight to make TV on Tuesday to TNA. I had to pay for my own flight, $3,000. Just made it back in time for TV. Won the world title that night. I could not comprehend my weekend. Just sat down. And the video they've got after me, when I came back with the world title, that's my exact reaction. Everything I said was straight from the heart because that was my weekend I had. And I was sitting there as world champion, and I still don't believe to this moment I'm the world champion. And I'm staring at the title right now, just shaking my head. It's such a cool feeling.
So I imagine, you probably, until you got to actually sit down, it was probably a lot to process, getting to the arena with your travel issues, that all of a sudden, wow, I'm going to be world champion by the end of tonight. That must have been a perfect example of kind of what this whole time has been like for you, with your head just spinning at this point, that all this stuff's coming your way. Are you getting a chance to process all of this, or are you just going at a million miles a minute that it's hard to kind of smell the roses along the way?
Sometimes when it's like that, it's a little hard to take in. That it was, a bit later that night when I was, but I only live about an hour and a half away from the impact zone. My fiance and I bought a house in St. Petersburg, so it's when I got back there and I sat down and my cat was walking all over it that I kind of went, oh wow, I'm actually world champion. I started taking it in, but sometimes it is hard to process. But I found, over the past few years, I've started relaxing more in the ring, and the advice the older guys used to give me when I was younger, I started being able to take, because it takes a long time to relax in wrestling. You're very tense in the beginning, especially when you're young and on TV and you're trying to impress. You're just thinking about the moves, you're thinking about the camera angles, you're thinking about your facial expressions. You don't really get to take in the moment because you're so focused on all these things. And eventually the light switch just goes off, and it's the Undertaker told me this, and I tell the younger guys this all the time. I say younger guys, I'm still 30. I've just been doing it a long time. I tell the young guys this all the time. Don't try to play a wrestler. Just be a wrestler. Relax. I can tell by looking in someone's eyes, and the camera can tell, and the fans can tell just by looking in someone's eyes if they're in the moment, or if they're just thinking about their next move, or they're tense. Once you eventually relax, that's when you start taking it all in. No matter how crazy the schedule gets, you're able to just stand there, relax, take it all in. No matter how tired you are, as soon as you walk out through that curtain, as soon as that camera light goes on, you'll always have 125%, 150%, 300%. You'll always have the energy to get the job done, no matter how you feel and how tired you are. So this is, I don't know, I'm living the dream, beyond living the dream right now. And I'm just staring at pictures on the wall in my family home in Scotland, and just remembering moments where I was training and thinking of this as a kid, and I'm living it right now. It's absolutely bizarre.
When you mention the dynamic of the TNA locker room, there's a lot of performers that are getting their first chance to be on national television at this time. You're a very young guy, Drew, but do you kind of look at yourself as a bit of a veteran when you have these instances of talent that is coming up to you looking for advice? Is that a role you've kind of accepted, that, I might only be 30 here, but I'm looked upon as a veteran to some of these younger guys?
If that's the way they feel, and any advice I can give them, I'll always be there. I don't look at myself anyway. I'm just, a guy that's there, that's done a few things, and been through a lot of experiences, and I will help anybody that does need that help. And I do, keep my eye on things going on in the ring, and things I see backstage. And if there's anything that I felt particularly strongly about, I would bring it to someone's attention. But like Kurt Angle told myself and EC3 in particular on the way out, I know you guys are, younger guys, but the future of this place, there's a lot of the old guard going out now, so you got to keep an eye on things and I've took that to heart, and I do keep my eye out and I watch for things that if people want to learn, they're going to come and ask for that advice. And any person who ever asks me to keep watching my match, I'll always be there at the curtain watching their match. And that's how you get better. It's just asking people who maybe have that little bit more experience. But I won't go to them as well. Like you come and ask. That's the way I've always done it. I always go to people and just ask their opinion. People that I value and respect in the locker room.
What advice would you give to somebody like a Cody Rhodes, who seems like he has the exact same mindset that you did, that I'm going to show that there is a lot of me that the world has not seen outside of the WWE, because he's about to embark on what you did 2 years ago. And it's, as you outlined, there is quite an incredible scene worldwide at this point where someone like that can go out, and there's a lot of interesting match scenarios, different environments to learn and grow from. But he's starting at it from day one. He's been in that system for 10 years. What would be some of your advice to him as he embarked on what you did 2 years ago?
Yeah, with Cody, there's nothing I need to say. Like, he's very, very smart, very, very driven, and has a chip in his shoulder. So I've been watching what he's doing, heard what his plans are, heard from people around him what he's thinking, and I don't need to tell like a Cody Rhodes what to do, because Cody Rhodes knows exactly what he needs to do. He's already started it, and he's going to go as far as he wants to go. You got somebody, that life experience, the experiences that he's went through, and the drive that he's got, and the talent that he's got. Like, the wrestling world's his oyster right now.
Looking towards Slammiversary, you're going to be headlining this show with Bobby Lashley, and there's been a lot of praise for the build-up to this particular match. It's just two guys that are going to meet to determine who is the top guy with the championship at Slammiversary. How have you liked the progression of this feud with the two of you? Because there is a lot of anticipation for this match headlining Slammiversary.
But I've been really enjoying everything we've been doing. I mean, it doesn't feel too good all the time, but that's the way I do my wrestling. I like it to be believable. I like it to be hard hitting. And there's nobody more believable and hard hitting than a Bobby Lashley in the world. And the cool thing about the feud, like you say, is it's not being rushed. A lot of times in wrestling, the matches just get done far too quick, and suddenly the feuds are over when they could have been just built a little bit longer. So everyone and the management and the creative have just really took their time and did some cool situations and cool avenues and some cool off-site stuff just to really get this where it needs to be and build Bobby and myself to where we need to be, and to get people knowing, if they didn't know who we were already, exactly who we were and exactly how we feel about each other. And it's at an absolute boiling point now. The things we've done to each other already, like I've said this a couple of times, this is a show with Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy in a Metal Mayhem match. Jeff Hardy's on the show, but I guarantee we're going to steal that show.
Is that kind of like a healthy competition when you know that everybody is going to be going out there with that mindset at this point? And TNA certainly, I mean, they don't do pay-per-views every single month. So this is one where I think you want to have a lot of that word of mouth coming out of this, that this is a really strong show. And I'm sure that's something that permeates through the locker room. Everyone wants to go out and have that show-stealing performance. And you guys are in that main event slot. You have to follow all of that.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. That's how the past 2 years has been before I came to TNA. They evolve. I jumped straight in with the likes of the Ricochets and the Heroes and the stars of indie wrestling scene on before me, and I had to learn quick. So if I'm on a show with those guys, I knew it was sink or swim. When I won the Evolve title in my first match, I was main eventing ahead of all those guys. So I learned pretty quick that you better figure this out and prove to yourself that you are able to do this, so you believe you are, or you're going to swim. And I was able to figure it out. The same in the UK. I was top of the card all the time. And finally in TNA now, if you want to be the best, as far as I'm concerned, if you're involved in wrestling and you don't want to be world champion, why are you in it? If you don't want to steal the show, why are you in it? The beauty of the locker room is we all work for the show. We're all a team. There's nobody that's out there for themselves. Whatever happened in the past wasn't good when people were out for themselves, but this is a team now. Everybody genuinely is working their ass off for the company. The show, I believe, is very, very good right now. It's been phenomenal since it's been on pop. And the key is just keep doing what we're doing, and like you say, word of mouth is going to get around. And this is a big opportunity. Opportunity to show everything we've been doing, like over the past few months in particular. Everyone's character is where it needs to be, everyone's work where it needs to be. And after this is done, we're going to have everybody talking as positive as can be about TNA and get us back in the right direction and back, where TNA should be.
Have you had a chance to see the match that everyone is discussing involving Ricochet and Will Ospreay, if you have an opinion of the match? Because it's taken on a life of its own, this discussion about this match.
I've heard people obviously talking about it. I've just not had a chance to see it because I've not stopped moving the past week. But any time I get on the Wi-Fi, my phone doesn't quite work in the UK the way it does in America. But whenever I've had Wi-Fi on, anytime my Twitter or Facebook's been on, it's all everyone's talking about. But I've got an idea what everybody's saying, and the way I look at it is, if people are talking about it, they're doing something right. Not every match can be the same. You need all the different stars in the show. Like, I believe a good wrestling show has the great wrestlers, has the great flag flyers like them, has the giants, has a bit of everything that attracts all different kinds of people to watch the show, because that's what creates a boom period when you've got something that everyone's talking about. And the bottom line is they've got people talking more than anything, because I've not been on my phone. Anytime I turn it on, that's all I hear.
As we wind down here, one thing I have to ask you is going back to WrestleMania weekend, and it was the first Evolve show of the weekend. Evolve 58, you're teaming with Johnny Gargano against Caleb Conley and Tony Nese. And this could have been a disaster. For whatever reason, there was no ring bell to signal the end of this. And I thought the way you thought on your feet and handled this and got the crowd to all participate by recreating the finish, I was just so impressed with the way you handled what could have been a disaster. And you turned it around and made it a positive. I mean, what's going through your mind? There is no way you could foresee that happening in a match where a ring bell has disappeared.
No, first of all, thank you very much. That's being able to be relaxed, I guess, and being able to think just because of the years I've been doing it. But yeah, I didn't quite comprehend what had happened, to be honest. So we had done a jump start, so we didn't have the ring bell at the beginning, so we never noticed. And then at the end, Gargano had the submission on, and I believe it was Conley was tapping, and there was no ring bell, and he came over to me looking confused, and I thought the referee had just not called it, so I tagged myself in, put the submission on myself, and said, okay, he's tapping clearly, and the ref finally said to me, there's no ring bell. And I was like, what do you mean there's no ring bell? This is the biggest show of the year. We always have a ring bell every wrestling show I've ever been on. I wrestled for 10 people when I was about 16, and we had a ring bell. There's clearly a ring bell, the biggest show we've ever done. And sure enough, there wasn't. And thankfully, the first thing I thought was, this is the first match of the biggest show of the weekend, of the company. I've worked really hard to get people talking about for the past year and a half. We're not going to let it go to waste and kill the crowd in the first match. So I thought it'd be fun to pull somebody out of the crowd, and I'll commentate how the finish should have went, and did the sound effects of ding ding myself. And thankfully, the crowd got into it and brought them back, and we didn't have a disaster starting off the WrestleMania weekend.
I was just so impressed with how you kept calm in what could have been a disastrous situation, and you made it a very fun part of the show, and I don't think anyone in the crowd left disappointed from that at all. My final thing before we wrap up here, let's talk about Slammiversary. And to you, Drew, looking at Slammiversary and beyond, what you would like to see from TNA as well. I mean, certainly they're in a position now. They are trying to grow that audience. They're trying to grow on pay-per-view. What defines a successful show for TNA come June the 12th? Because you're a big contributor to TNA and moving forward on Pop and Fight Network.
Like we said earlier, I think we just need to keep doing exactly what we're doing. Like, since we got into Pop, everyone, character-wise and in-ring, has just been finding themselves. It reminds me in WWE, when I won the Intercontinental title, Sheamus won the World title on the same night. Vince recognized that a lot of the older stars were retiring, and he had to make new stars. Same deal in TNA. A lot of the old guard were on their way out. Management recognized that. I won the world title not long after that. I believe Takei had just gotten the tag team title. Working really hard with EC3s, obviously already established, but you've got the Miracle as well, and guys who've been looking to build, and a lot of cool feuds going on within the company, and the shows have just really been stellar as of late. And now we have an opportunity that everybody works their ass off at TV, but everybody will turn it up an extra notch at that pay-per-view. And there's going to be some star-making performances, I believe. People don't know necessarily much about. They don't know them too well. They're going to know a lot about them after this, and they're going to know about TNA. And people are going to be, talking about it in a very positive light, I believe, after this pay-per-view.
Well, Drew, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Once again, TNA Slammiversary going down Sunday night, June the 12th from Orlando, Florida, 8 p.m. Eastern on pay-per-view with Drew Galloway defending the TNA Championship against Bobby Lashley. And all the best, Drew. I know you've got a birthday coming up, so let me be the first to wish you a happy birthday. And it's going to be a big and busy weekend for you coming up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've just got one more wrestling show to do, my brother's wedding to get through, and then I'll worry about that birthday.
Well, a very busy man, but thanks so much for taking this time out, Drew, and we will be watching Slammiversary next weekend.